Good afternoon, everyone. It is so good to be back with you all. We haven't had one of these group sessions since last year, since the November before I went on vacation. I think I went, where did we go? To Bali, sometime a little bit after Thanksgiving. Some of you I haven't really caught up with, others we talked via email, Instagram. I'm sorry, email, Discord, those sorts of things. So I've been able to have a good time with you. Hope everyone is well. Let's go and dive into what we're going to be covering in today's session. So first and foremost, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering the commodities futures reports updates. So that's the reason why everyone's here. That's what we advertise. So I want to make sure that we get to that information and to show you how you can use the new features that, or the new things that are included in that futures report to really transform your trading. And I don't use that word lightly simply because there's so many rules around trading in the first place where you can't make any sort of promises or guarantees. But at the same time, I just know so many people that promise stuff and over deliver in this sort of industry. And so for me, I usually elect to just be quiet and not say anything unless I have something very good to report that we've tested it extensively. So we know that it's going to work before we say anything. So I want to go into those extras. Then we'll talk about coaching updates. So what's been up with coaching? Where have I been? What's next? When are we going to start the next cohort? When we're going to have classes again? I'll make sure to cover all of that. And if there are any questions or that you have, feel free to unmute yourself and ask me throughout the presentation. That's fine. Or if you want to just have something at the end, or you have some questions at the end, you can ask those as well. Again, I only suspect this will probably take about 40 or 45 minutes, so we'll have ample time for questions and answers. Let's go ahead and dive in. But before we dive in, I do want to take a quick poll, get a quick idea on the live meetup. So I'm thinking that we're going to start, well, I'm pretty much going to start the next cohort in April. So next month. And then that gives us April, May, and then the cohort is probably ending somewhere close to the end of June. And so I'm thinking at the end of this cohort, what I want to do is have a live meetup. I know that was something that was mentioned in the last cohort. We really want to do it. We were talking about it was going to be somewhere around the April, May-ish time as it started to warm up here in Chicago. Admittedly, I've been really busy with updating the coaching program as well as hedge fund stuff that's been going on. So I really haven't done much to go ahead and plan it. But thankfully, I recruited my wife, who is probably one of the best planners that I know, probably one of the best planners in all of the country, if I'm being honest with you, the way she works. And she's helped me to go ahead and coordinate and plan it. So I'm thinking it's going to be around middle to end of June. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I want to just bring this out to say, is that enough time for folks to be able to, request time off work if you need to, get your flight, pick up a hotel, those sorts of things. So is June enough time? I would say type a 1 in the chat if I said we're going to have this end of June, that this is something that will work for people. I just want to get an idea. Or if we need to do later. We're getting some ones, getting a couple ones. What I'm thinking ideally I would want to do is, I don't know how many people are going to come. So some people are saying July, which could work as well. So I'll get some dates in there for, let's say, June or July. So we'll do one of those two. So we'll confirm what the day is. But what I want to do is just make sure that I'm gauging enough interest. And I want to say maybe about 75 people that are in this coaching program actively right now currently. If we get 5 or 7 people that say yes and they'll buy flight to come out here, then I'll do it. But if it's 1 or 2 people, then maybe not. But if we get 5, we can do that. If there's more than 5, that's perfectly fine. We can always coordinate to scale up, but just in terms of making sure we have enough. If we get enough interest in this, which I'll send out some subsequent emails to everyone, then we'll get this going for late June or July sometime, because I'm seeing a couple of people putting in July here, and I know folks are really wanting to meet up because we've all never met in person, which I think is a shame, and other people I think it's a shame as well. So we'll shoot for late June, maybe July. We'll do some polling to see what that is, but just to be able to gauge some interest, I'll email you guys about that later. Live meetup. Let's do this. All right. So now let's switch gears and let's talk about the commodities futures report. Is there anyone that's obviously not, but just want to make sure, is there anyone that's on this call that doesn't get the commodities futures reports daily? You should pretty much, unless you were in the program and then left for whatever reason, either I refunded you or you left the program or you didn't finish paying or whatever the case is. But I think everybody should mostly be getting these commodities futures reports. And typically what was put in it was every single day, you would get the predicted direction in terms of whether it's going to be long or short or neutral. We made some huge improvements to it. And I want to show you those improvements, but then I want to show you not just how these improvements how you can use them, but to show you how this can fit into an overall strategy that you can use to do very well in the markets. Let's start here on the basic. What is the commodities futures report that I'm sending out every single day to you? It is a forecast of the predicted direction for long, short, or it says neutral. And typically that just means flat, meaning that whatever the deep learning algorithm is doing, it can't really determine with absolute certainty or with a high degree of certainty what the direction is going to be for the next day, for a diverse range of futures instruments for the next calendar day. Now, the tool that I have, which I don't know if I'm going to mention the name, but it's been around since the 90s. It uses a series of neural networks to do its best to predict the direction, but it's not just for futures. That's what we're using it for, or that's what I use for the report, but they do stocks, ETFs. I think they might even do cryptocurrencies now. I'm not really sure, but they do a number of different ones. But what I've done is confined it down or refined it down to the 13 or so instruments that are the most liquid that are in that database for futures. So for folks that are trading prop funds, I think prop firms, they've got 50 or so different instruments that you can trade, not just NQ, ES, and those other ones. So we look at all of them that we have access to, and we pick the 13 most liquid ones. And then of those liquid ones, we gave you suggestions on which ones to trade in which direction. So the way that it does this is it analyzes huge amounts of intermarket data for thousands of world markets. So it's not just what did the ES do yesterday, or what did NQ do 2 days ago or 3 days ago, or what is this candlestick pattern that's coming up now. And so tomorrow is going to be long because the candlestick pattern says so. It actually goes one level deeper than that. So it's not looking at the S&P. It is looking at the S&P 500 futures, but it's also looking at the 500 stocks that underlie those futures. And it's doing a deep analysis on those to bring all of that together to influence the direction that it's choosing. Essentially, I don't think I'm going to go too deep into the details of how it works. One, because it's a proprietary tool that I don't completely even know how it works, and it's not the point. Once you see how much it wins, will you even necessarily care how it works? I don't think you would, as long as you can trust the information that you have on your machine. That's the most important piece of it, and I'm going to show you how you can do that yourself. But it analyzes a huge amount of intermarket data from thousands of markets. It finds the most influential intermarkets, so the things that pull on these individual instruments that you are looking at the most, so they have the greatest predictive effect for the things that you're interested in. So once that happens, predictions are based on a combination of historical patterns, intermarket relationships, and the neural network's learned patterns. So using a combination of different things, again, based on however long they've been having it. They've been around since the 90s, but you have to go through the 90s, then the dot-com boost bubble, then the 2008, 2009 financial crisis. Then you have to go how from that point, basically the futures market kind of fundamentally changed. Then you have to go to 2020 where it fundamentally changed again. You have to take in all of those things into consideration when you're looking at the overall accuracy of the thing. I would say if you really want to take a good look at what the market would look like now, it really only makes sense to take a look from about 2021 on. 2020 was a weird year, but there was a lot of artificial intervention in the market. Let me just use that word. So it wasn't really pure market dynamics. So look after that, take that year out, take all of that artificial stuff that they put out, and we're looking at 2021. We look at all of it from the beginning of time, but what I'm saying is for this particular thing, I wanted to show you some ones from 2021 on. Again, these predictions are based on a number of quantitative things, but when we come to it, we want to ask the question of that's what it is. But now, as I'm about to dig into this deeper, I want to talk to you a little bit about what it isn't, just so you can have some realistic expectations on how to best use it, as well as how I show you how we have been using it and testing the information from this commodities report. First things first, When you get the commodities report, it is not a scalping strategy. It's not designed to say if the direction is tomorrow that you're going to know the exact price of where you're supposed to be entering and where you're supposed to be exiting, whether it's long or short or whatever the case is. This isn't something that's necessarily built to scalp with. Instead, because all of these things are built, all of the predictions are built on daily candles, which doesn't really take into consideration intraday movements. These are ways to get an idea or a perspective on the entire day. So when you see how we're doing it, we typically enter the trade at midnight. So as soon as the day starts, I think it's a minute after midnight, we enter into the trade and then we let the trade basically play out. We have our rules or we have our trading rules in which we have established, but we'll just take the trade blatantly. We're not waiting for what's the ideal and best place. And there's some optimization that we can do with that, but we haven't been doing it. And I'm going to show you all these results. One, it's not a scalping strategy. This is not how you get 5 ticks. In fact, our take profit is 1,000 ticks and it works just fine. Just fine. I'll show you. Another thing is this isn't a magic 8 ball with 100% accuracy, meaning that every suggestion you're supposed to take or every recommendation that's in that report you're supposed to take. What was not in the report before that we're adding into the report now is how to be able to know what confidence you're supposed to have when you see the prediction. So they all say long, short, and neutral, but which one of these are you supposed to take? Is it based off of the markets that I like to follow? Are there other markets that perform better than others? How am I supposed to know and be able to determine and discern these things? That wasn't in the report before, but it is now. But I say all that to say that even with all this information, it's going to be wrong. This is trading. There is no 100% holy grail anything that's going to show you where the top and the bottom is for you to be able to get in and get out. But if you do take this information I'm going to provide for you today and utilize it in just a smart and strategic way, you're going to quickly realize that basically the coin flip that you would make when you're entering into a trade now is blatantly stacked in your favor. So instead of a coin that's 50-50, the coin is now 70-30 or 80-20 that you're going to get exactly what you're asking for. And what I'm talking about is like 1,000 ticks. We're not talking about 20. So like to have a 70-30 coin flip to get 1,000 ticks is, I wish I had this a lot sooner, but I'm glad I have it now because this is going to really change the way we're trading going forward. It already has. What this also isn't is an excuse to abandon proper risk management. This is incredibly important. Even if the direction on the day, that doesn't necessarily mean that you just do a long, do a short, don't put a stop loss on there, don't put a take profit, just let the day play out the way the day is going to play out. You should always have some sort of risk management in place. I'll show you the risk management that we did, which was pretty loose, but it still worked out just well. So there are ways to allow for trades to breathe. So if you're not necessarily someone who is a scalper, or if you do have one of those, your trailing drawdown is turned off, or using one of those end of day strategies, this is going to be really keen for you. But even if you're using a trailing drawdown, this will help you as well. And what this isn't, and this is a really important one, and I want to get this out of the way first and foremost, because I know that we're talking to a lot of folks that trade funded accounts and it's all about intraday movements. This is not a tool to predict intraday price movements. It's not going to tell you where the top or the bottom of the day is, where you're supposed to enter at 9 o'clock versus whatever. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. But if you understand how this is different from just, I'm looking for an intraday strategy, if you see how this strategy works, you'll realize that, wait a minute, maybe I don't need to pay attention to the intraday stuff as much because I can make more money, even if I don't. This is going to be really cool and really powerful. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to jump in. So what's new in this report? What is new in what I've been able to give you? First things first, we've added a weekly outlook. Then we've done daily high probability trade recommendations. So this is different from just having all the recommendations. There's another layer on top of it, which is based on the recommendations that are here. Which one should you be paying attention to based on the historical performance of the predictions? So this is not the historical performance of the market. This isn't a tool or a weekly report or a forecasting report that's trying to predict the stock market. That's not what we did here. What we instead did is an analysis on the predictions to see how often they're right versus wrong. And looking at how often they're right versus wrong, we're making a recommendation on when we feel that you have a high probability that this recommendation is correct. Let me say that one more time because this is important and it's nuanced. With this forecast report, we're not saying that we can predict whether or not the market's going to go up or down tomorrow. I can't do that. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on tools, and most of them can show me that the market is moving, but they can't seem to tell me why the market is moving. And I hear so many people that try to make up stuff as to why they think the market is moving. The bears are coming in here, this support level, this resistance level, volumes here, footprint charts, whatever you want to say it. And I've looked at most of it. And I can tell you, even with all of that, I can't say with absolute certainty why price moves. I just know that there are certain things that allow me to be able to make a hypothesis on why it's moving. Instead, what this report is showing you is not why the price is moving, but every single day for the last however many years, 15 years or so, this tool has made predictions. How well have these predictions worked, or how well have these predictions worked out? And then can we make inferences based on the predictability of this thing? And so I'll show you how that works. It's really cool, and it's a different way to look. It's a counterintuitive way to look at how to make money in the markets that has nothing to do with charts, candles, stick patterns, any technical analysis, none of that. What was it? Order flow is things that I used to talk about before. None of those things really make a huge difference in what we're doing here. So it simplifies the process a lot, and it also is going to free up so much mental headspace and bandwidth for you as well. We have an updated prediction accuracy. We have detailed prediction accuracy for multiple instruments, and I'm really excited to show you that part. And I think this is probably, and then time of day recommendations, we don't have yet. So that's coming soon. We're still working to figure out how to do all this. So we have a pretty good idea of if you enter with this particular prediction in the particular direction that it's predicting, that chances are you make money. But when you're supposed to enter technically, we couldn't tell you. We are just entering in at midnight. We are doing tons of testing, and I can show you guys of what time of day may be the best. But just entering at midnight has made us, has proven to be something that's beneficial. So we'll have more updates on that later, but don't worry so much about time of day as we go into this. All right, so now what I want to do is to take a look at each one of the new features that I put in there in detail for you. And then I'm going to show you the methodology behind why this works. Because I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want to show you exactly everything we're doing. Midnight Eastern Standard Time. Yes, Dom, that's a great question. I want to show you exactly the methodology that we're using, how we arrive at these recommendations. So the first thing you're going to get is the weekly outlook, which is going to look like this. It's probably going to be in the email, as well as definitely it's going to be in the report. But it's basically saying on the week that you're trading. So let's say this week, which is going to end Friday, March 8th. So from March 4th to March 8th, here are the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday recommendations. We are able to essentially provide these recommendations to you on Sunday for the entire week, because it's not based on what's going to happen on in the market tomorrow, because we don't know what's going to happen in the market tomorrow. This is based on of all the historical performance that we have predictions for. Here are the ones that have the highest probability to be right in this particular month, which would be the month of March, in this particular day of the week. Does that make sense? And it'll make more sense as I show you more. But that's how we've been able to expand this out to be able to go from Monday through Friday. Here are the instruments that you want to pay attention to, provided that you have a proper signal. So you'll get that weekly outlook. Where it says trade, what that's telling you is that of all the times that it's traded, so I'll just use ES, for example. So ES has a trade on Tuesday of this week. So this is saying of all of the data points that we have, of all the predictions that have been made, and it's some minimum. So when we did the analysis, it had to be some certain number so that it was statistically significant. So, but of the number of trades that we have, has the prediction been correct 80% or more, not just in that month, but on that particular day? So this is saying that on Tuesdays in March, 80% of the time, the predicted direction that you have or that we have is correct. So therefore, we're going to trade that direction on the day. And you get the exact number, whatever it may be. It could be 80%, could be 86%, could be 100% of the time it was right. So you have that. But anywhere where it's been right less than 80% of the times, you're going to see monitor. So that means you can take a trade if you want to, but it's not a recommended trade to take. Instead, it's saying, hey, focus on some of the other ones where there's an actual trade there and be able to operate and go in that direction. Huge difference from where we were before. On Sunday, you can basically have a good look analysis for the entire week in terms of what markets you should be paying attention to and why. Why? Because the win rate of the prediction for that particular one for this week is higher than 80%. I'll take higher than 80% every single time. So you get that on the weekly outlook. The next thing that you get is the high probability trade recommendation. So again, with this, you get what instruments you are supposed to trade. The next piece is, now that you know what you're supposed to trade, what direction are you supposed to trade them in? So you would go and say, ES says trade on this day. Let me go and look at the report. ES is long on this day. So therefore, my recommendation is to take a long trade tomorrow. Does that make sense? So you have the high probability trade recommendations that come to you based on the instrument. The tool that we're using to analyze this doesn't know whether or not it's short or long. That's not what it's looking at. It's looking at whether or not the prediction, whatever it may be, is likely to be correct. And then once we know that, then we go on and we find the prediction. So you'll have that. We also give you updated prediction accuracy, which I'm going to get into next. So we've taken a look at all the trades that we have available. We didn't cherry pick any trades. If there's data available for it, we've taken that trade. If there's no data available for it, then we couldn't. But each one has at least 250 trading days or somewhere in and around there, which is still statistically significant enough for us to be able to do what it is that we're trying to do. We do it on a number of different instruments. So you've got those updated win percentages, and those win percentages are a lot more accurate than the ones that they had before because we're calculating them in a much more efficient way. And we've been able to do some custom programming in Python in order to be able to make this work for everybody. I'm not going to get into the custom coding for Python because that's beyond the scope of this, nor do I think you guys really care. You just want to know that it works, and I'm going to show you basically why it works. Okay, then the last part, and then we'll jump into the methodology behind it, which is going to be the most fun, cool, and interesting part of this whole presentation. I think it's where you're going to get the most value from what we're talking about today, is you also get the detailed prediction accuracy. Now, this may look a little confusing, but what this matrix is showing you, again, is by the month. So this is for NQ. You'll get them for all 13 instruments that we're following. There's a couple of errors with the treasury bonds, so UB and ZB. There's something with Yahoo Finance where they're not picking up the instrument. So we don't have that one yet, but we'll add those once we fix that. But for the other ones, this one's particularly for NQ, it's saying for the month that we're trading in, or the month that it is versus the day of the week, here are the win rates. So if I go to the top left, January on Mondays, of all the predictions that we have for Mondays in January, the prediction is right 83% of the time. Now, the cool part about this, especially with NQ, is notice how many hundreds there are. And again, we're not using just 2 instances. We're using, I forget what the exact number is, but we have to have at least, I think it's 8 or 10 or more in order for this to be statistically significant. So when you look at that, man, there's a lot of times here where on certain days of the week, we have a higher than likely probability that the predicted direction that we're going to get in this report is going to be the right one. So if we just trade in the direction of that instrument, or if we trade in the direction for that instrument, then the probability that we're going to make money is so much higher. So it may be that you do it at the start of the day, or you may do it when you wake up in the morning, or you may buy the dip or sell the high, or whatever it is that you're ultimately choosing to do on your particular strategy. Because again, this isn't me saying use one particular strategy. I'm saying whatever strategy you're using, this will help you to know whether or not you're on the right side of it, which is huge. So you will get these detailed matrices, I guess is the word, matrices for the month as well as the day of the week. But you can use this information, or this information will be, how am I trying to say, curated. That's the word I want to use. It's curated for you in the report to know which ones to pay attention to. So you can look at this chart if you want to, but you never really have to reference this chart to know what you're supposed to trade tomorrow or for the week, which is a cool part. So now that I showed you the new stuff that you get, so you get the weekly recommendations, you get the direction, predict the high, predict the lows, those sorts of things. You get updated accuracy numbers, and you get a detailed prediction matrix. All right. So now let me talk about the methodology of how we've been able to arrive and how we got here. This is incredibly important for me because I want to demonstrate that this isn't based on my opinion. This isn't based on something that I can't test and verify the numbers for, both in back testing and forward testing. Everything that I'm showing you and everything that is in that report is based on empirical numbers. It's based on things that have been demonstrated for as long as they've been taking records on this market, that it's been working. And that's so incredibly important when you're trying to trust information, especially in the markets, of knowing what it is that you're supposed to do. And I want to explain it in a familiar way that I've explained before, which is going back to good old Otis, man. I cannot seem to get rid of this guy because Otis is just such a great framework for how you can look at developing not only an entire strategy, but the tactical implementation of that strategy. And what I'm going to do right now when I'm showing you this methodology is to show you how, with this report, you essentially we have been able to create a complete trading strategy that incorporates all of these elements, including automation, which can then be fed into tactical implementation. So we in our internal testing have developed a custom NinjaTrader strategy that takes these trades automatically. We cannot release it yet, one, because we don't have any sort of what are the things in there. If I give it to one person, then everybody has it. Essentially, there's no way for us to be able to protect it once we give it out to people. That's one thing. But then two, you don't need the automated version of this to do this. You can just take the trades whenever you choose to on a discretionary basis. But we had to develop a custom strategy to test all of these, especially over extended periods of time. I want to show you all that data. I will apologize in saying that when I get to the forward testing part, so it's one thing to back test it, right? It's another thing that once you have that back test to put it into a forward test. But I did the forward test last night for it to be here today. It was on my computer. It was on the virtual computer up until maybe 45 minutes before class was supposed to start. And then when I went to my cloud computer, it restarted. So I don't have it. I don't have the forward testing results for you. But I believe that I built enough trust with you guys that when I tell you that the forward test matched the back test that I'm going to show you, that is true. And I know you don't get that with a lot of, like when we were doing right line stuff, the back tests weren't matching and all those other things. Like I get that part. But if you can just take a little faith, and I'll be happy to record a video later which shows you that I'm verifying that this stuff is actually real. But the back test matched the forward test. And here's the reason why it matches. Because the entries are based on time. They're not based on any sort of technical indicator. The big issue that was with Rightline or any other system where you're testing is usually, do the candlesticks match when you're doing the testing versus the live environment? If you're using Renko bars or any sort of Renko bars or Heikenashis, they typically don't match. So that's usually the issue. And then the big issue with Brightline is that they had so many custom indicators that couldn't be read by the strategy analyzer. And so it wasn't reading all of the data to know exactly which trades to take. So there were things that were off. There are no custom indicators here. This is all based on direction, prediction, and time. So if you have a predicted direction and we say enter it 1 minute past midnight, it's going to enter in 1 minute past midnight. So it matches. It's really cool that it happens the way that it did. So now when we're going back to Otis, because I'm jumping around here, but I promise this will all make sense in the end, and you'll see just how incredibly cool this is going to be for your trading going forward. So we want to start with the risk profile. And so for us, we used pretty loose risk parameters in that we were trying to make 1,000 ticks. We were trying to take profit was 1,000 ticks, and then our stop loss was 250. So 250 ticks is $1,250 on NQ. Is that high? Yes. What's the reason we chose 250? It was honestly an arbitrary number of half of the available drawdown on a day. So if we were doing a 50K account and you got 2,500 in available drawdown, we went, if this thing loses 2 in a row, then, that's just it. But what we were also doing, or what we were also assuming as well, because we were creating a strategy not to qualify for funded accounts. We've already qualified for funded accounts. And most of our accounts already have the trailing thresholds turned off. So this is a strategy, if you weren't worried so much about the trailing drawdown or the trailing threshold, and you had a little bit of money in the account to be able to stomach a $1,250 loss, what would then happen? How effective would this be? I know that sounds, what am I trying to say? That sounds like it may not be good practice, especially if you're trying to take or trying to pass a funded evaluation. And I get that part, but just stick with me, because I can't guarantee it, but this strategy can be used to qualify for funded accounts. I mean, this morning we took the ES trade last night, made, was it $3,000? So I think it was 3,400 before we turned it off. So with just trading one contract, it was able to qualify for a $3,000 Apex 50K account. This is possible to do, but just come outside of that framework if I'm trying to qualify and get my trailing threshold turned off right now, so you can see the power of what this can do for you to get there. But not only once you get there, how to use this going forward. So we're going to start with the risk profile. And so now what I want to do is to show you back testing second. I'm going to show you research first of how we've been able to get to our quantifiable edge. This is the coolest part. So forgive me for being a nerd on this, right? But what I'm showing you here is the win rate for all the predictions that we have for the 13, I think they don't include ZB in here, so 12 of the 13 instruments that we're following. So essentially what you're seeing here is NQ, ES, RTY, YM. You can read it on the left going all the way down. So these are all the instruments. LC is live cattle. I know the actual symbol is LE, but LC is how they have it in the prediction software that we have. So LC is live cattle, even though I know it's LE. So next to those is the win rate. So of all of the predictions that I have available to me for this particular one from 2021, I think is where we had this from. What was the win rate? How often was it correct versus not correct? And if you see some of these numbers here, you're going to be pretty excited. For NQ, it's saying 83% of the time the prediction is right. ES, 81%. RTY, 81%. YM, 80%, 75%. The one with the least amount is NG, which has a 57% win rate. Then here you get the total number of predictions. So 298, 549, CL has over almost 1,400 predictions in here as well and it's 70% right. So what you're seeing here is the total profit and loss. So when I say total, that means that's in real world dollars. If I don't even know what NQ is trading at right now, but I'm just going to make it up. Let's say NQ is at 18,500. If it went from 18,500 to 18,505, then the total profit would be $5. But that's actual price movement for NQ. That's not if you then put that into tick value. So you would have to do the multiply of $5 times 4 ticks, that's 20, times $5 a tick, that's $100. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is 32,000 real world dollars that is made in profit. So you got to multiply that by 4 to get the tick value, and then you got to multiply that by 5 to get the 5 ticks again. We were just doing this for each one of these. There's a plethora of predictions here. This isn't just 10 or 20 predictions that we're looking at. We're looking at hundreds of different predictions for each one of the instruments in order to be able to get this right. And so when we knew this, so we had this for all of the days, what we were able to do next was, again, to put them in a matrix for each one of the instruments. So this is the entire, all of the predictions. But now that we have all of the predictions, based on the month and the day of the week, what are the win rates for each one of the predictions? So if we were in a Monday, or we're in a Thursday in March. So if we're in a Thursday in March, for example, and we want to trade CL today, the win rate for CL is only 63%. Well, if our threshold is 80% or higher, we're not going to get a recommendation to trade CL today. It goes for all of these. So we can look here. This is for ES, the 70% today. For March, here I'm hovering here, it's 80% today. Gold would have been something that we would have traded today. Live cattle is another one that's 80%. Notice this one, natural gas is probably one that's most interesting to me because it has the lowest win rates of all of them. And you can see the clear difference. So if we were to look at, let's say, NQ, for example, which has so many 75% or higher days, and then we were to go to NG and it has 50% days, 30% days, now we can just shift our focus to the ones that it's most accurate. So why would I trade natural gas if I don't have to, or if I don't have a tool that's going to help me to be able to predict it as accurately as I can? So this is for NQ, for silver, for RTY. Notice all the blue that's in RTY as well, a lot of 80% of hires. Again, there's some reason that Yahoo Finance is not giving us UB data, so all these are zeros, but we will fix that. YM's got a bunch of 175s here. Corn also has some good numbers, but we're able to see all of these, like the matrix for based on this month and this day of the week, what is the ultimate win rate? And so once we have all that, we then pull it take all of this information from this matrix. There's a lot of code that goes into it, and I don't have to show it. I don't care to show it because who cares anyway? But essentially, it gives you this matrix of the trades that make sense based on all of those, but then it also spits us out on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday. Here are the instruments that have a higher than normal or an 80% or higher win rate. Here are the ones that we suggest that you trade. Does that make sense? So this is really, really powerful methodology that we've been able to use. But the cool part is that it works. Like and what I mean by it works is the level before then. So the statistical analysis is one thing, but like looking at the data, the actual predictions themselves are good. They're 80% or higher in most cases for the major indices, or 75% or higher. And even if the ones aren't just at the default 80%, so you're looking at everything from like wheat on down isn't 80%, we did another level of analysis to go, we're not just going to take the overall win rate. We're going to look at the individual win rate for the month and the day of the week to see if that can give us some opportune spots to be able to take advantage of some high probability setups or some high probability prediction opportunities. And we then take action on those. I hope this makes sense because this is, again, I'm rusty. I haven't spoken really publicly in, I don't know, since November probably. But I want to make sure I'm getting this information to you because this is so incredibly important and it can help you. When you say when, I'm assuming the predicted, I'm assuming in the direction you predicted. Yes. So if, again, this won't have the predictions because this thing doesn't know the predictions. It's just looking at the accuracy. It doesn't know the prediction of the day. It just knows the accuracy of all the predictions in the past. But what I would do, for example, is Thursday, I would go to our report and I would go and find a live cattle is trading in the direction. There is no direction for live cattle. Live cattle was neutral today, so we can't take that trade. Thursday, NQ had a long, which we took at midnight and woke up in the morning and we were up 3,500 bucks. So we're saying trade in that direction. And that's how this works. And it's very beneficial. So I've shown you that part. The next part I was going to show you, which is like the actual forward test that I did, but the computer restarted. So I can't show you that. But what I can do is I will pull up the actual back test for it. And again, I'm just asking you to take a little leap of faith to trust me when I tell you that the forward test matches the back test. In fact, with these back tests, sorry guys, we're looking at 2020. We're looking at all of that, which wasn't the one I was supposed to show you. You can see it anyway, but that I'm looking for this one. But with this prediction, so the ones that we're running, we ran a test from the beginning of this year. So we did all of the data that we have for it. And I just want to point that part out. But what I'm going to show you now is specifically taking action on the predictions from just January 1st of this year. And this is just for NQ. We didn't do it for all of the instruments. We just did it for NQ for simplicity's purposes in this example. But we went from January 1st, 2024 to March 4th, 2024. And we only traded on the days that we had predictions for. So let me look here and I'll show you. So trades, because when we did this was a couple of weeks ago. So we only had trades up to February 23rd. So it's all in like a CSV file that we've developed a custom NinjaTrader strategy to look at that CSV file, get the direction, and take the direction on the trade. But notice we're supposed to be going all the way up to the 4th, but it only has enough trades in here till the 23rd because that's the only predicted direction. So it's only taking the trades with the date that has a predicted direction in it. And so with that, there were 89 trades that were taken. And this is for, actually, I do want to show this one, but I want to show the daily one first. I'm sorry. So there were two different tests that we did. The first test is this one, which is the daily test, which means you enter in at midnight and you only take that one trade. If you win or lose, that's the only trade you've taken on the day. How often do you win versus lose? There are some times when we're in that trade, and I can show you the trades itself. There's some times when we're in the trades and we get in entry time at midnight. I'm showing the profits here. Hold on, sorry. I'll pull the exit times up. And so this one, we're in a trade for 9 hours. Actually, let me rerun this. One, to show you I'm not lying. These are actual back tests, but I want to turn off commissions just for this because it's only 39 trades and I want to get the actual dollar amount. So reran the test again. First day we took the trade. We got in at 12:01. By 9:49 a.m., trading in that direction, we made $5,000. And $5,000 is the 1,000 ticks. So it hit the full 1,000 ticks. The next day we got into the trade on the 3rd. We entered in at midnight at 9:33. For whatever reason, the trade closed, which could have been for, I don't know, but it closed the trade at 9:33 for 1,500 in profit. The next 3 days, we got in and it hit the stop loss. So again, it doesn't win every single time. So that's a loss of $1,250 when it hits the stop loss. On the 10th, it made 2,500. Then it had a couple of bad days again. But this is just taking one trade per day. But even when doing this, so even when doing this and taking $1,250 in losses every day, just trading one contract, we were still positive $36,730. I think when I did the forward test, we actually made more money. We made $39,000 because it took a couple of extra trades based on how this thing is programmed, which we need to fix it. But it took a couple of extra trades based on the time of day, and it made $39,000. But still, 51% win rate, $36,000. Now, what I want to show you here is so some people are going, Marcus, you said It's supposed to be an 80% win rate. What's this 51% foolishness? That doesn't match what you're saying in your research. Let me just clarify that point. There's a difference between the ideal that you get from the research, which is not based on any sort of, so the way we set this up, it's not based, it doesn't have any sort of risk parameters in it. It just buys or sells at the open and then gets out of the trade at the close. So it's just giving us the pure how much profit and loss we've made if we bought at the open and sold at the close. Or let me just say, purchased at the open and then closed our contract at the close. Once we use this next step here, which is that we want to now insert some sort of risk management in here, because we have a stop loss, which is we're risking basically 1 to make 4, that will decrease the win rate. It's naturally going to do that. But if I do change this now to 1,000, this should work. So now we're saying basically, actually, I'll do it this. Well, 1,000 and 1,000 should be fine. But basically what I'm saying is you're either going to make 1,000 ticks, you're going to lose 1,000 ticks. So we're not giving it that arbitrary cutoff. Notice that the win rate now jumps up to 71%. But even though the win rate jumps up, you still have to take in how much additional risk you're adding. So there are some trades, if we look in here, let me see, 450, 1,600, almost $5,000 that we've lost here, $31 that we've lost here. So some of these are outside of our risk parameters. So therefore, because it's outside of our risk parameters of how much we are choosing to lose, we're just going to do this like this. So this is for the daily candles. But what we also ran, so I hope that makes sense. So why is the win rate lower than the 80% that you promised, or the 80% that's saying it's in the prediction? Is because we are choosing to input risk management rules in here, which is putting in a stop loss. We're still making money on these trades, but we just had to be realistic about that. Now that was for, we're just taking one trade on the daily, but we also took a second test, which is what we call like a continuous test. Now this continuous test meant that once you entered into a trade, the second that the trade closed, whether it's because you hit your take profit or you hit your stop loss or the session closed, the next available candle that you can enter, do it. So if you made, let's say, $5,000 on a trade, the next minute, once you're out that trade, enter in again in the direction of the prediction for that day. So it's basically always in a trade. And if I show you those results, we went from 35 trades that we took now 89 trades, and we went from 30, whatever this was, $36,000 to almost $63,000. So we made more money just by allowing this thing to continuously trade. One of the things that I did notice when I looked at the trades itself is there are times when you'll see that you get more losers in a row. And some people can't stomach this many losses if you don't have enough space in your funded account in order, or if you have a trailing drawdown or your threshold isn't turned off, or you're at a space where you have to do the scalping stuff that you need to do in order to be able to qualify. Some people can't stomach 3 losses in a row. Even though this is $3,700, some people can't stomach $3,700. Even though the next day we made all of that money back, or we make $5,000 here, we're usually positive. And again, I've run this test multiple times in a number of different permutations, not just with this market data. So Ninja Traders, we've done this with Ninja Traders market data, Yahoo Finance's market data, Data Bento, which is another market data provider. We bought some market data, and not all of it's the same, as weird as that sounds. Not everybody has a open and close is the same, especially if we're talking intraday data. We tested it on 4 or 5 different versions of the same trading data, and we got similar results with all of these. I'm showing you the one for Ninja Trader because Ninja Trader is the one that you all trade for the most part, the people that are in this group, right? Basically, we're just saying even if you just started with at midnight or whenever you wake up, take a trade in the direction that you're going to trade based on the recommendations. And this isn't even the recommend. This isn't the, how am I trying to say it? This isn't the second layer, which is if this was Tuesday versus Thursday versus Friday, take these trades. It took the trade every single time that there's a recommendation. So we didn't add that additional layer, but just with this particular layer, if you would have started this, you would have made $36,000 in your account trading one contract. So we haven't talked about trading multiple contracts, scaling up, doing those sorts of things. This is simply one contract we're trading. You made $36,000 this year at the start of this year, and if you would have done it continuously, you would have made $63,000. We ran the same thing in forward testing, and the numbers are basically the same. Now, my hard and fast rule is it's got to be within like 15, 20% of whatever it was in the back test. This was pretty much there. I think it was within like 5 to 7%. where we were, the numbers were pretty much the same. And we can see why the numbers were different. It wasn't a mystery. We can go, oh, based on how we programmed this thing, it was supposed to do this and it didn't. So that's why it entered into this trade versus this trade. So it's things that we can fix in programming. I want to take this a step deeper and go backwards because we got just about 5 or so minutes left, 5 or 10 minutes left. And I want to get into the coaching stuff. Is that we were to do the same thing now, but now run it for all the data that we have, which I think is starting from for NQ is starting in December of 2022. And we can pull this up. So December 2022, and because this is 700 trades, I want to include commissions in here as well, just so you can see how commissions factor into this. If we would have ran the same sort of strategy, starting from when we had the data, which is charts, trades, the first day we have is December 16th of 2022. Trading one contract, it would have been up over $500,000. I know this sounds unbelievable, especially when you're looking at a back test and you aren't you haven't been able to do or run these sorts of tests yourself. But please trust me when I tell you that these numbers are pretty close to accurate. I know most times when you're listening to people online and stuff, you can't really test it. But this isn't based on candlestick patterns. This is based on just times when we're entering a trade. So these numbers are really close to what we would have had. And we're so excited to be implementing this all over the place, not only in our own personal trading, but we're implementing this model in the hedge fund and so many different places. The stuff that I'm giving you right now, that what you get from that commodities report is really going to help you to be able to determine the direction that you want to go when you ultimately are choosing to trade. And the cool part is it works. So this is if you were to continuously take trades, which most people, that's insane. You would never do that. You would never just continuously have the thing on and always be in the market. But if you chose to just take one trade per day, so essentially that one trade, you get in at midnight, no matter what happens, you either make the money or you lose $12.50. If you were to use that, you still would have made $330,000 just trading this from December of 2022 till March, till today, to this month. So there's a lot of alpha in here. I'm not saying that you'll make this exact amount, $330. It could be more, it could be a little bit less. But in terms of a strategy that you can implement where you don't have to do anything, the direction has already been determined by a deep learning algorithm. We already can verify the predicted accuracy of it and be able to know what days we're supposed to trade on. How much of this $330,000 can you get? I think it can be a lot. And that's the cool and the fun part of being able to take advantage of a tool like this. And you get it every day. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to do anything extra. You don't have to pay for anything extra, any of that. So back to your asking, am I using the auto trader for entries? Yes, I am using the NinjaTrader strategy, the built-in strategy for this. We built a custom thing that reads the predictions from a text file or a CSV file from an Excel file. And if it says go long, then it goes long on that day. Now, again, I can't release that because one, we're testing it for liability purposes. I absolutely do not want to release this. But we have to be able to develop something internally so that we can take the trades and be able to test it. Maybe we can come up with the test version later, but at the same time, you can go in and pretty much just whenever you wake up in the morning, whatever the direction is, just press the button and you'll be fine. So we're showing it in a discretionary way, but we do have an automated way that hopefully we can have some version available to folks when we start the next cohort in April. But you don't need it to take advantage of this right now. I'm telling you, you can just hit the trade, just press the trade on a discretionary basis. It's going to be able to achieve the same thing. And so this one is specifically just for NQ. And we're running this for all of them. So natural gas, RTY, all the other ones as well. I just know most people pay a lot of attention to ES and NQ, and we want to then I want to show you just the setup that work particularly for NQ. You only recommend entries at midnight or anytime you see your setup. That's a good question, and I don't have a definitive answer on that. The reason why I don't have a definitive answer is because of the testing we've been doing. We've just basically been saying enter at midnight, and midnight has been what's worked best for us. Now, you can also, let me think about how this works. You can also, because we've done the additional testing, so here I'll show you, let me just pull this up. So we phrased this, again, internally for us, but it's weird. So 570 is 930, which means 570 minutes have elapsed in the day, which translate to 930. So when we see 570, what I'm doing is basically saying, this is 930. If we were to start to take trades at 930 in the morning, what would be the difference of how much money we would make? And so if we do this, and let me just do it for it was like 300 something before. If we would have just entered at 9:30, we would make 250,000 versus the whatever we had before. But I just want to show you just for this year. So for this year, as opposed to just entering in at midnight, if you would have entered in at 9:30, or maybe if I subtract 30 minutes from that, which would be 5:40, so you get in at 9 o'clock versus 9:30, making a similar amount of money. So instead of the 30,000 something, you would make 24,000. But the cool part is I can trust this because it's just going based off of time. It's not going off of candlestick patterns or anything else. So we've done a couple of these where we're looking at, so again, I can go into, hopefully I don't break anything, but I can go into the optimization portion of this and notice I can go by minutes. So I can look at midnight versus, I can go the whole day if I wanted to. Midnight versus 9:30 in half-hour intervals or hour intervals, which one makes the biggest difference? We haven't really gone so deep into the optimization part of it yet because just the normal back testing stuff that we've been doing, it's been working. And the next part is, as an individual, I'm not interested anymore in trying to optimize these strategies, if I'm being completely honest with you, because we've got deep learning algorithms now that can refine these things better than a human ever could. The next step for us is that we're refining these strategies with some sort of artificial intelligence and not just the analysts that are working on this. Let me just get another question. How do you put the stop loss at 1250? We put it at 250. So it's just basically here, stop loss. We set it at 250. But you can do the same thing if you're entering into a trade. Just set whatever your ATM settings are as whatever your stop loss is that you want it to be. But we just put it here at 250 and then $1,000. I'm sorry, 1,000 ticks, which is $5,000.
Marcus, quick question.
Of course.
You said that with that data that you just showed is from December 2022 till now.
Yes.
Now, do you think, because basically that was actually like the bottom of the bear market we experienced in 2022, do you think that has anything to do you think that being the case from December at that point to now, we've basically been straight up, not straight up, corrections here and there, but basically we've been up. Do you think that has anything to do with it? Or could you do another time frame and
Sure.
see if that's
So again, it's not necessarily based on time frame. This is based on all the predictive data that I have available for that instrument. So when I go into the database of all the trades that I have available, I can only look at the ones from 2022 forward. If I'm talking about,
gotcha.
yeah. But if you're talking ES, 447 trades, so it goes a year further. I don't know the exact dates, but essentially, like, it's looking at as much data is available. So for ZW, it's looking at 656 trading days. CL is 1,300. So I'm using all the data that I have. If there was more data, we would feed it into it, but I'm using everything I got.
But what I'm saying is that, do you think is there any validity to that? Like, thinking that we've really been in a bull market since that time, December 2022 till now. You understand what I'm saying? Like, do you give any credence to that? Or
yes. So I hear what you're saying in terms of December 2022, but for me, that's specifically for NQ, or whichever one is only from December 2022. There's other ones that have 2021 data in here. There's other ones that go all the way back to 2017. So each time frame is different of what we have the data for. But yes, since the start of 2022 or whatever, we did have a good year where we had a basic bull run. And you're asking, does this work if you're going versus a bull market versus a bear market?
Yeah, exactly.
And from what I'm saying, like, the accuracy numbers they're still pretty good. Yeah. So it's looking at all different market environments, or at least all the ones that we have access to. Now, again, is that skewing these numbers? Absolutely. But how much are we talking about that is skewing it versus what it normally would? I can't exactly say because, again, I don't have the data on it. But at the same time, I don't think that's enough to, like, stop you from using this tomorrow. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Still, no, I just I was just thinking about that. Yeah, if that bears in, I'm just thinking out loud.
So Peter, to answer your questions, are you taking long and short trades depending on what prediction? Yes, I'm taking long or short depending on what the commodities report says. What this thing says for tomorrow's outlook, that is the direction that I'm taking. Let me see, are there any other questions? The direction predicts are long or predict the directions are long and short. And we do take all these as best as we can in order to be able to make some positive alpha in the market, which has been Very cool and beneficial. So to wrap this into a bow, and then I want to go into trading, but I want to make sure that want to answer questions, but then two, I'm stressing the importance of what has been put into this updated forecast report so that you can use it and be able to utilize it. Be sure to pay attention to the weekly overview that you get, because this is telling you trades that have a high probability of that predicted direction being correct, meaning that of all the times that all the data that we have for it, and it's got to be at least, I think, 8 trading days for each individual instance, does it have an 80% or higher win rate? So this will give you just at a bird's eye view what instruments you're supposed to be paying attention to. Terry asked a great question, which is the results included news events as well? Yes. We made no distinction between when a news event was occurring versus when a news event wasn't occurring. If you're in a funded account, typically you do have to pay attention to those sorts of news things to get yourself in and out of trades. We are programming in later to this thing. Whenever the significant news event is, get in or get out 10 minutes before and get back in 10 minutes after to see if that makes a difference. But just on the manual side, no problem. Peter, it's good to see you. Good to hang out with you. But just on the manual side, just get in and out of trades when there are news. So again, this isn't some automated tool that's predicting intraday stuff. Instead, this is giving you a great idea of what the direction for the entire day is going to look like with a high degree of accuracy. Now, whether that happens at 6 in the morning, 10 in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I can't tell you. I don't know what that answer is going to be. But I know that if you hold on to the trade and you allow the trade to play out, then ultimately you're going to be able to make some money. So I want you to be able to go in and test this. I hope that I've done a good job explaining this, because it's been so long since I've done one of these and I'm not as sharp as I once was in terms of explanation, because this took longer than an hour. But use it. It's very beneficial. It's very helpful. Okay, so now I want to go back into the slideshow, because now I want to talk about updates to the coaching program, because this is an important piece. We actually do have Caduce, who is on the line with us today. Caduce, you don't have to like put on a video or anything. I know it's super early where you are, but Caduce has been brought on as our new head of coaching. So he would be the one that's helping to facilitate changes to the cohort, this new piece of the coaching that we're adding as well. He's going to be spearheading that. So great. I do want to make the announcement for the folks that are in here as well. We are currently hiring coaches. If you are interested in the accountability side, which I'm going to explain to you in terms of potentially being an accountability coach for traders, I will be happy to provide you some information on that. I already know 1 or 2 other people I've talked to that have been interested in it, but anyone else, just feel free to email me or drop something in here, and I'll be able to let you know what this is about. In terms of updates to the coaching program, we're going to return our newest cohort in next month, so April of 2024. So we're going to go back to the weekly workshops. It's typically going to be, I think, Monday. We'll have to do something different for the Wednesdays and then the Friday sessions. We will also have our office hours return during that time as well. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or it might just be Tuesdays. If you have specific questions and you want to get on the calendar for office hours, I'd be happy to help you then for things that may be outside of what may be in the weekly workshops. This is a huge departure, and I want to take just 2 minutes to explain why, but we will no longer offer support on the Right Line trading software. So there's a couple of reasons for that. First reason being that like they technically don't offer our people support like that anymore for their Right Line product. And so the reason being, I'll just make a 10-minute story, 2 minutes. So when Right Line sold their company last year to the other Mark, because the first guy's name was Mark, the new guy came in with the AI automated system. Apparently it was either something he was developing or whatever the case was. And then the folks at Right Line, because they liked us, they grandfathered us in to the new thing with the AI system. Turns out they weren't supposed to. So the new owner was like, hey, y'all gave all these people my shit for free, and I didn't want you to do that. And so in order to save face with their boss, which I don't blame them for it, they were like, we're going to still give you all the old stuff. So the money flow tracker, the NDT, the old auto trading system, but we can no longer support you on the new, which is fine. I just didn't really like the way that they did that, because they told us that we were going to have it for life, and then they didn't honor that agreement. So because they didn't honor their agreement, I don't want to necessarily continue using that software provider, as well as it's not mine. So so many times in office hours, I was finding I was just doing support for Right Line, which I don't work for those guys. And so it wasn't the best use of everybody's time together to try to be able to figure out why isn't my templates working, that sort of thing. And then the third reason is they've stolen an idea or two of mine as well. Just overall in bad business, I just want to move in another direction. And the direction that we're moving in doesn't require any sort of custom software. You don't have to have any sort of proprietary indicators or anything like that. You can use what's in this commodities report or whatever sort of strategy you may be using. You can implement what's in this commodities report to really help you to be able to be more effective at whatever your trade strategy is. So going forward, if you've got questions about Rightline, especially the AI auto trader, I can't help you. If there are questions that you do have about the old stuff, like the NDT, the money flow tracker, and things like that, you can still reach out to Rory because Rory and those folks are offering support on that, but just not the new AI auto system. So going forward, I will be showing other methods, other strategies, other things that are ours that were built by my internal team that you can use and utilize, but I won't be talking about third-party stuff anymore, simply because I don't have any control over it. The other part is that we're introducing a accountability coaching add-on to the coaching program. So many traders that are in our program have asked, I've gone through all of my one-on-one sessions. Are there any more one-on-one sessions that I can have? Is there a package where I can pay for more? Or how does that work if I can't just get the one-on-one time anymore, which there would be less of? And so we spent a lot of time here internally on figuring out what do we want to do in terms of how to be able to help traders that have run out of coaching sessions, but then also want that additional accountability, so that we can focus on the good stuff, like updating your risk profile or keeping you accountable to the things that you have going, or strategy updates or psychology updates. And let me just go, I'll just take 2 minutes or 3 minutes or so to discuss the accountability coaching program, and I promise we'll get you out of here by 5:15. So in another 5 or so minutes. So what are the benefits of this new coaching accountability add-on? What we want to do most importantly is be able to provide you structured guidance and support tailored to your individual trading style and goals. You come to me with, when we were working before and we talked about risk profiles, there was suggestions that I was providing to you on what I thought would be best to help you to qualify for these accounts. But every trader that I talk to, including in this program, you all have a different style, you all have different risk tolerances, and there's no one size fits all solution. So we want to be able to provide you with something that is for you specifically and not just for all traders in general, that will really help you based on what you are most interested in. So with that, we'll do weekly calls with your accountability coach. Again, it will be either me or some of the other folks that we've had brought on. All of them will be very capable of helping you with this particular piece of it. So don't feel like it has to be Marcus. Weekly accountability calls, which will help you to stay disciplined and focused on your trading plan, reducing impulsive decisions and emotional trading. So really getting you to hone in on what's working and getting rid of the things that don't. You'll receive regular feedback and evaluations to identify the strengths and areas for your improvement so that we can facilitate continuous growth and refinement of your trading strategy. So all the things that we were doing in our one-on-one sessions before, we'll be doing all of that plus some in this accountability session. You'll just be able to meet with me or the coach that you have on a weekly basis to make sure that we are making that you're hitting your targets each and every time. Another cool addition that we're adding to this, which I'm really excited about, is we've developed a method of how to be able to create custom tapping audios. So the audios that we have right now, which work, all the tapping audios, they work very well, but we've been able to find a way to customize them so that, one, it's for your specific thing, because those are pretty generic, and I'm giving you statements to help you to customize it or to make it unique to you. But now the audios itself has the customizations inside of it while you're tapping, which is really cool, really fun, really important. But the reason why this is even better is that with those tapping audios, we've uncovered that you can use them to clear multiple things at once. So typically you would just have the one statement that you would have to tap and clear for. Now we have a method where if you gave me 10 things, now they have to be somewhat related. They can't be like, I'm trying to lose 50 pounds and make $1 million trading. But if they're all within a similar lane, we can develop a custom thing that can help you to add in 10 things, delete 6 or 7 different things. Like, it's really cool and really interesting how all this is working to be able to provide a more robust way to help to make changes to your other than conscious mind, which is going to be amazing and incredible. So what's included in this new accountability coaching program? You get personalized coaching sessions. You meet regularly one-on-one with your dedicated accountability coach to discuss your trading progress, your challenges, and your goals. You get a customized trading plan, which is the development of a trading plan that's based on your individual risk tolerance, your trading style, and your particular financial objectives. You get evaluations, so ongoing assessment of your performance. including analysis of your trades, review of the metrics that we have set up, identifying areas of improvement, identifying the 20% that's losing 80% of your money, and having somebody who can keep you on track with what's happening so that we can fix it, and not only fix it, but fix it for good. And then common stuff that you get with an accountability coach: goal setting and tracking. So establishing clear and achievable trading goals with regular monitoring and tracking of progress. And then the trading psychology support. So the custom tapping audios and many other strategies and techniques that we've added and we've built upon in the almost 3 years that we've been doing this now. Wow, it's amazing to think that this is 3 years that we've been doing this. But strategies and techniques to manage emotions and overcome psychological barriers and maintain discipline during trading. So you really have somebody who not only knows how to get past the psychological stuff, but also understands trading and is just there for you to keep you and help you to get to the goal that you say that you want to get to. A lot of times we trade in silos. You can talk to somebody, you can say you're going to do something, and then you go back and do what you're going to do anyway, but you never had that person to go back and talk to go, man, why did I take that stupid trade when I know I shouldn't have? Or things are working out very well. Hey, I want to focus in and hone in on how do I do more of this? Like being able to have that accountability person, I think is going to be incredibly important for traders. And so for me, my just original question is, would you want something like this? I know I've had at least 6 or 7 people ask me for it. And so we want to include it. And what I want to do for sure is to offer it to you all in this program first, before I open it up to the list of however many thousands of people that I have, because I can't do this for a million people. I think we can only, I don't know how many people we can do it for, but there's definitely going to be a limit to how many people we can include in this program for accountability, because we're meeting with people one-on-one. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sending out some emails after this call. So maybe not today, but sometime between now and this weekend, of getting you to gauge interest. If it's something that you're interested in, just reply to the email or click the link that's in there, which will take you to be able to get more information. We literally just got the website completed this morning. So once all that stuff is set up and automated and ready to go, we'll be able to send that over to you all. But accountability coaching is going to be great, and it's not going to be all that expensive. I know that some people charge stats. Heck, I've charged $5,000 for this coaching program. So you all know that part. This accountability program is going to be like a few $100 a month. It's not even going to be thousands of dollars up front. So I think or at least the number that we talked about internally, which is the number that I'll give to you all, was like $299 a month or something like that. You meet with your accountability coach once a week. Plus, you still get the office hours and all this other stuff. Again, this is not a money grab. This is not, I'm trying to charge $5,000 or $10,000 for a new thing. I'm really trying to put a service together that I think would ultimately help traders to become accountable for what it is that they say that they want to do, because we have the tools to help you to be able to get there. With that said, I think I will stop talking now and pause to see if there are any questions, either about the new forecast report or about this accountability coaching in general.
Mark, it's just a quick question. Is this going to be is this being recorded and being posted on Discord later?
I hope so.
Awesome.
Let me see. Live stream is on. It says it's recording. So yeah, it's recording. Yeah, so we will have more information on the commodities report for sure. We will definitely have more information coming out about the accountability program as well. I'm really excited for that, and I really think it's going to be a popular thing that a lot of traders are going to be interested in, because again, most traders don't talk to people about their trading. They just trade in a silo. But use this commodities report, please. That's the best. If I can say anything else, use the updates that we've made to be able to look at what day of the week am I supposed to be looking at what particular instrument, and then what direction am I supposed to be trading, and just trade in that direction. If you just ultimately go and trade in that direction, you'll be in much better shape than you were before. Again, when I show this sort of analysis on what happens from the beginning of the year with NQ, this isn't me making this up. This isn't some custom strategy. This isn't some empirical indicator, some custom indicator that you don't have control over. This is all just, we enter in at midnight and we hold it till we make money or we lose money, and we get to where we're trying to go. This really is a very simplified way in order to be able to just make so much more progress in the markets. I'm excited to hear people implementing this and then what you do with it. And I as well am going to be sharing updates as we continue to roll this out and scale this into not just my own personal trading as we've been doing, but also into some of the larger funds that we have as well. So with that, I think I will stop here. I'll send you all more information about the accountability coaching program, as well as the new cohort as information becomes available, as well as the live meetup. If there are any questions that you have for me, feel free to hit me up in the Discord. Otherwise, have a great rest of your Thursday, guys. It's so good to catch up with you all, and I'm looking forward to everything that we're going to start accomplishing in April. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you.